Hey, happy Tuesday. Thanks for joining us on Tuesday at noon. Thank you for joining for the noon forecast. This is your lunchtime forecast, and we have lots of things to talk about today, starting with that 3-star map that we saw yesterday from those strong storms that came through places like Chicago, Illinois, Iowa also saw those strong storms up there. High wind and several tornadoes have already been reported there. Several areas to also keep an eye on for today. From coast to coast, we have chances for strong to severe storms. So we'll take a look at that forecast for today and tomorrow. And hey, we have great news. We have a cool down on the way for parts of the U.S. So we'll talk about who could also see those cooler temperatures in the forecast. But let's first start with what we saw yesterday. We did see those strong to severe storms coming through places like Iowa and Illinois yesterday. But it all started out even earlier in the day in New York, where we did see some pretty large hail out of just to the east of the Great Lakes here. So you can see this is in Victor and Manchester, larger than 2.5-inch size hail here, and over 33,000 homes impacted. So a lot of people getting that hail yesterday. Now let's take you out to Chicago. I think this was the big story for many people. You probably saw it on your social media this morning, especially if you are a weather enthusiast like we are here. You probably saw the strong winds coming through, maybe even several tornadoes near the Chicago area. But we had a wide swath of wind going through anywhere from Iowa to Illinois and then off to the west there through the overnight hours. Over 100-mile-per-hour wind was either measured or estimated in this area, and we had many homes impacted across several different states here. And I actually have a deeper look at these storms in just a minute, but I want to show you your storm reports. We had high wind, across the country yesterday, anywhere from Colorado all the way off to New York, all the way down to the south into Florida. So a lot of storms, of course, causing these high winds, but of course the most notable here was what we saw out of Chicago yesterday or out of Illinois yesterday. You can take a look at that. Just how many wind reports did we get here? A ton in this area. This stretches all the way back through Kansas as well. The hail reports yesterday, these storms started off as big hailers. We talked about that hail in New York, but really what it was that big wind threat. So let's go ahead and take a look at those storms yesterday. We have several photos for you out of New York. Whoa, the back of this car damaged, just completely shattered here. We also saw hail hit the siding of this house and completely damage parts of that house as well, or maybe that's an outhouse there. Heading farther off into Illinois, you can see that we had a stretch of severe thunderstorm warnings, tornado warnings out of this as well. This started off as a hail event, however, quickly transitioned into a wind event with those extreme winds heading off to the east and of course into Chicago, where we saw a lot of commotion there with these tornado warnings coming in all across Illinois, anywhere from Chicago all the way down to central Illinois. I think at one point I counted 4 or 5 tornado warnings that spanned about 90 miles in total, which is just fascinating. Now what we saw here was we saw these little embedded tornadoes on the leading edge of this storm, and what we are watching for now is that tornado report to come in. So what the National Weather Service of Chicago is going to do today, and places all the way throughout Iowa and Illinois, they're going to go out and they're going to try to assess, was this high wind damage or was this tornado damage? And they're going to assess where those tornado spin-ups are, and they're going to assess where the strongest wind speeds are. However, if you want that map earlier than what the National Weather Service can put it out, we do have some of those preliminary tracks in our system right now. You can head over to hailtrace.com to see that. Now this storm continued through the overnight hours into the early morning hours and into St. Louis, obviously not causing as much of a commotion there. However, it still is raining as we speak in St. Louis. It looks like I don't see anything severe right now. However, that doesn't mean that there can't be severe storms in this area later on today. We do have a thunderstorm watch happening just outside of Buffalo in New York, a very similar place to where we saw all of that hail yesterday. Heading farther down near Florida now, we still have those showers and storms ongoing. Pretty spotty for most of that area, and we are expecting to see storms later on today. We actually have a shower in Oklahoma City, or near Oklahoma City right now. Current temperatures, it's toasty out there. It was a very toasty walk for my dog and I this morning. 86 in Oklahoma City. We've got 98 out in Las Vegas. 80s anywhere from Billings all the way down to Denver. Kansas City, one of the lucky ones, sitting in the 70s here, but the 90s just blanket the East Coast there. We've got 93 in Charleston, 92 in New York. It's definitely a very hot start for many out there. A very hot lunchtime for most. Okay, taking a look at the instability for today, we have a good instability anywhere from the eastern side of Oklahoma all the way off to the east, and you can see that goes through Memphis. Those storms in St. Louis right now are using up a lot of that unstable air as we continue throughout the lunchtime hours. Now, what we're watching for here is we're watching for that hail risk, mainly through the plains and then off to the east. You can see that in Missouri and even in parts of Arkansas here. But I do want to get to that hail forecast. Oh, let's go back. I may have skipped a little too far forward. There we go. So the hail forecast for today is, you can see up in Nebraska, we could see anywhere from about an inch to an inch and a half size hail into southern Kansas, into eastern Colorado, northwestern Oklahoma. We could also see some larger hailstones out of this area as well. I think that St. Louis and Kansas City have already seen their storms for today, but we could still see some storms out of Lincoln. So that's why I have that as Lincoln, Nebraska as one of the better chances to see hail for today. We also have hail chances farther off to the east. However, I think those hail sizes are going to stay on the smaller side here. Now, what could the max hail size be? I have that at 2 inches. If we do see anything 2 inch in size, it will be pretty isolated. However, still a chance there. All right, let's take a look at the rest of the forecast. This is our radar for today. So we've been seeing those storms come through New York right now. We have that severe thunderstorm watch in place. This will be the first area of storms to watch for today. Taking you farther down to the south and out towards the plains, we're watching for storms to bubble up in some of these areas. In the southern plains here, all the way down to Oklahoma, we'll continue to watch these storms. I think this will be the area that you can watch for some isolated hailstones in some of these isolated storms there. And then through the late night hours, you'll see more strong to severe storms out in northwestern Oklahoma. Okay, taking a look at tomorrow's hail forecast. So we have 2 areas to keep an eye on here. The first area farther out to the west into Colorado, parts of Nebraska, all the way down to New Mexico, even scraping the Oklahoma Panhandle. Another area out to the east. Now this, I think, will be more of a wind threat out to the east on the east coast in our New England states. I think that they will see more of a wind threat here. So I kept our hail chances very, very low and pretty small out there. So let's focus on some of these western storms. You can see that these will balloon up in the mid-morning to early afternoon hours. And I'll actually take this hail risk off in just a minute and show you that radar once again so that you can see it more clearly. So here's what we're seeing tomorrow morning. You could have a wet morning commute for people out of Memphis, maybe even Oklahoma City seeing that wet morning commute. However, I'm not too concerned about the severe risk through the morning hours. Then if you head farther off to the west, you're going to see these storms start to initiate around the mid-morning hours. However, better chances for storms as we head into the early afternoon, especially for severe storms. I think that'll be an early to late afternoon system here. You can see they start off very isolated but become more scattered as we head into the late afternoon and dinner time hours. This will continue through Colorado, progressing into Nebraska and Kansas, and even clipping portions of the Oklahoma Panhandle as we head into the evening and late night hours here. I think as the sun goes down, this will start to fizzle out, maybe even becoming a wind event in the Texas Panhandle. What are some of your biggest hail sizes here? Up to the size of a golf ball. I think this will be pretty isolated. I think we'll have better chances for closer to quarter-sized or ping pong ball-sized hail for tomorrow, but golf ball-sized hail, not out of the question here. All right, I think this is what everyone is looking forward to. I have heard a lot of people talking about that possible cool down coming our way. And I know you see these maps all over social media, but what does this actually mean? So this is your likelihood for below average temperatures. Let me give you an example. Our average temperature here in Oklahoma City is 94. Now, does this mean we're going to be way below average? No, what this means is we have a high likelihood to be below 94 for this time of the year, for our average temperature this time of the year. Now, meanwhile, while we get some relief from the heat, 94 is still a lot, but hey, I'd rather have 92 than 102. So there is at least some sort of relief coming our way. Farther out to the west, you have a pretty high likelihood of above average temperatures in this area. Now, what about those rain chances? Well, it looks like we have a decent chance for rain over the next 5 days, especially northwestern Oklahoma, which we have talked about several times already in this forecast. The better chances for rain extend all the way up into Nebraska. Western U.S. still staying dry. The further east that you go, the better chances that you have for some showers and storms, especially right along the east coast here and in the southeastern portion of the U.S. So pretty good chances for rain for some of us across the nation. Others really not seeing a ton, especially out to the west. Now, if we go a little bit farther out here, the last week of July, what we're watching for here is some better chances for rain, maybe down in the desert, down into Texas, really good chance for above average rainfall down there. Most of these rain chances will stay down in the southern portion of the states. Hey, thanks for watching on this Tuesday. We appreciate you tuning in. I hope you got to tune in last night as well. We were doing live coverage on those storms that came through Chicago. Of course, like and follow for more weather updates. We'll be doing live coverage on the more significant storms over the next few months. But you can also like us on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, or TikTok. We love to just post exciting weather things on here, right? We're all weather enthusiasts, so we like to just talk about the weather on these social media pages. And if you're interested in any of the maps that we make or any plans that we have, go ahead and give us a call at 855-334-4245. Email us at info@hailtrace.com or head to our website. Not only will you find maps on the website, but you'll also find our blog, which we do a pretty good job of updating, and that gives all kinds of interesting weather stories across the nation. Anyway, thanks for joining us. We'll see you back here, same time, same place tomorrow afternoon.